This time on A1A Custom Garage, booyah, part two of the Little Guy Racing Parts Eliminator chassis kit. Man, this build is wild. And in this episode, what are we going to do? We're going to see this thing get some power, super power. Remember, we talked about an audible in our last video. Stay tuned. I hope you enjoy it. It's a good one. We appreciate the support. Follow along and let's have some fun. It is time to start getting some of this MR24 transmission powered up. So if you look, audible. This is a Hobby Wing. This is their Hobby Wing quick run. So we have dropped it. No. We got the combo kit where it comes with the it's their the quick run mini 24. Comes with their super small ESC. Man, I gotta show this to you because it's so sweet. I mean, it's tiny. I mean, look at my fingers. It's smaller than the FearTech. You know, like the Lizard Pro. It's smaller than it. It is probably not as. I wonder if it's similar to the new Python, mini Python, or whatever they're calling it. That one's pretty cool too. This thing is super nice. I've never used it before. I had one and I'm like, you know what? I want to try it out. The motors, when you look at them, pretty similar in size. So the Hobby Wing motor is a little bit longer, not a lot, just a tad bit longer, and I believe it's a little bit bigger in diameter. So we can actually check that. So we'll do it in millimeters. Let's see what this can is. They're both outrunners. So I'm coming up with 15.77. Let's do 15.73. So pretty much the same. Let's see if we can get the overall dimension. 20.57 millimeter. 21.2. So it is, like I said, a little bit longer. Cans are basically, you know, they're both outrunners. This is a 3450 kV. These, I believe, are 3500 kV. Yes, 3500 kV. Super nice. Now the difference, the main difference, shaft. The shaft is a little bit shorter. This is a 1.5 shaft on the Micro Komodos. This is a 2 mil shaft. So that's where you run into a little bit of issue. So getting pinion gears, if you're going to stay with the standard, if you're going to stay with the standard gearing, this is 0.3 mod on the spur. They do make the 0.5 mod conversions and stuff like that. But I don't know, a lot of them use, I haven't found, I don't know if the MR24 transmission uses a stock style spur or if it's specific to their transmission. Probably hit up the guys at Little Guy Racing Parts for future reference, because if you've got a standard transmission, a stock one, you could go to a 0.5 mod spur and then do a 0.5 mod pinion. There's more available for the 2 mil shaft in 0.5 mod. I'm staying with a 0.3 mod to match the 0.3 mod spur in here. The thing was, finding one is very difficult for a 2 mil shaft. Most are for 1.5. So what's cool, when you get your Micro Komodo, the Little Guy Racing Parts FearTech combo Komodo setup that they do, they give you the pinions are not pressed on. They're a press-on style, but they're not on. They give you 2 pinions. So I stole one out of here because I'm not going to use this guy anymore. Stole one of the pinions out of here, and I measured what the inner diameter was, and I added 5 mil to it. So since this is a press fit, you don't want it at 2 mil because then it'll just slide on and off. So it's at 1.91 millimeters. And then I just pressed it on, and everything went together good. So really happy with that. We got it in the right position, so we got our nice brass pinion on there. This is a 12 tooth, so we're going to combine that with the Quick Run Mini 24 setup. We're going to try this out. So our next step is we are going to mold these two together. Mold. Stupid. I'm going to get these bolted on together, and we'll set the gear mesh, because remember, you want a little bit of play, because if you've got them smashed in there, they end up wearing on each other and putting pressure, and just starts binding. So we're going to set that up, and then we're going to slam it in here. So we'll get it ready, and we'll show you it in. So want to give you a little tip here. When you get your motors and everything mounted up, setting your gear mesh is pretty critical. I get a lot of RCs here, mini, micros, big, fast, slow, where if that's not set correctly, you got to have some kind of backlash in there, right? So we'll get here close. If you look, see how I can wiggle it, and it's not moving the other gear yet. You got to have some kind of little gap in there, right? And then the big thing is, right, so you want to set that up. And you can see, because if you have that smashed all the way down, you're just going to it's just going to bind, and then it's going to wear the gears out, especially with a brass gear or anything else. Eventually, with all these smaller gears, that's what causes them to strip, is improper installation of the mesh. Then what you want to do, because remember this spur, right? The spur's big. And sometimes things aren't always machined perfectly round. You need to rotate it. Make sure you rotate the whole spur through. It should be nice and smooth, because you may find out all of a sudden it's like, ooh, it's a little bit tighter there. And I'll stop, I'll look, make sure there's proper, because it'll be tighter. Like here, I could feel it a little bit there. You can see the gap's a little bit smaller. So you just want to make sure you rotate completely through. Just feel it. It should be nice and smooth. You shouldn't feel any kind of binding or anything along those lines, right? And then stop, check, a little bit of movement, right? So I've always used you can't do it on this, but like with the normal RC 10 scale above, even some of the, usually 10 scale and above, you're using like 0.8 mod or 1.0 mod or whatever. You can put a piece of paper, thin piece of like paper through there, get it down and sandwich it in. It'll usually get you pretty close to where your mesh needs to be. That's an old school trick. But man, it should, feel nice and free. I will say this gear seems pretty well machined. Feels pretty round. There was one tiny little high spot, and that could also be in, the pinion. So in a certain spot, but it felt pretty good. So I think we got everything set good, meshed well. I don't have gold screws for that because these are 2.0s, and but I figured with the black it'll just blend in. So, but I think we're good, man. So the only way I know how to get this thing is man, do we bring this over here? We go 1, 2, 3, ready? Bang! Check it out. Man, that looks sweet in there. Fit, finish, perfect, as usual. I love all the gold. It's so crazy. I think it actually looks really cool. That's my personal thing. Some people would be like, oh man, that thing's so gaudy. But I think it's going to go good with the green body too. But man, fit and finish perfect. Like I said, may end up pulling this out because I don't intend on ever using it. So might as well get it out of the way too, probably. But we'll see. It does help stiffen the chassis. We'll figure something out. So, but yeah, tons of room. Like I said, if you flip this forward, what's nice about this center skid mount, if you decide you wanted to flip it forward, you don't need to pull the skid. You can just undo the motor, flip it. It's got all the mounting. The only thing was the motor does protrude pretty far forward here. So that I don't think will work for the application that we're trying to do. You could do that and then run a really small battery on the side, or you could run a battery, if you get a really small micro ESC, which I think that one's pretty small, that and a receiver on one side, and a battery on another side, flip this forward. Might work, although you might have some weight kind of further back than what you'd want. I'd rather just put a nice battery up front and then move my electronics as far forward as I can on these skids. So, but, you know, we're going to have some nice weight up front with the Tiny Terrains knuckles and using the brass Mofo servo mount. So I think we're, hopefully we'll be, you know, we're going to put this on the scales too. You know, we'll get this on our scales. We'll weigh it all out, see what it all comes out to. But man, I'm really happy with where things are going right now. I mean, everything fits so good. I mean, the little guy racing parts quality is by far some of the best in the industry. I mean, it really is. I mean, this thing's beautiful. This thing's a work of art, actually. Man, I don't want to get it dirty, but I'm going to. All right, so next up, I think we need to get start getting some more electronics in. Don't you guys? I think it's, man, we got all our electronics. We got our micro radio link receiver because we're going to use our RC8X. So I think this is going to go somewhere on the side here, right? Then we got our mini little guy, quick run, waterproof Mini 24. Probably put him somewhere here, right? And then we got our servo. We got our, man, these servos are so nice. No Superior Designs, man. RS100 micros. These things are awesome. I love how they started doing the, they changed the mount. Because a lot of them, when they come through here, they're trying to give a little bit extra clearance. You know, because a lot of stock style chassis, that's the other one thing about this chassis. One thing I love they do, they widen all this out, right? You know, gives you a lot more room as you're flexing and stuff. It's not going to hit. With a stock chassis, you know, the rails are usually in even further than here. You know, this is about the stock. So the stock width would be from here to here, right? So if you had that all the way out here, it'd be pretty close to this mount, right? And that's where you have some issues with stock chassis setups and stuff like that. Even with some of the aftermarket ones, like, so if you'll look, a lot of the carbon ones will come here and they just cut them off. And there's no bumper, there's no anything in the front. And that's because they're trying to give the room for the servo. I love that they widen all this out. I think it's super cool how they widen the front just a little bit, man. And plus, most everybody's going with a wider axle. So to me, it's the way to go, you know. It gives all this room for servo mounting and, you know, bumper mounts and all that other stuff. Because I like having a front bumper to help protect the front of that chassis. So if you're running a hard body, I guess maybe not, you're going to use the body. If you run a Lexan body, you know, they flex more. I like Lexan for weight. The hard bodies just look super duper cool. So man, super pumped. So what do we do with all this stuff? I don't know. We're gonna make the wires look nice and stuff, and we're gonna throw it all in there. Ready? 3, 2, 1, ready? Bang! Check it out. We have a mess of wires, but all the electronics are in. Man, we got that quick run from Hobby Wing. The Mini 24 fits in there nice. We got that servo, that No Superior Designs NSDRC servo, all mounted up with our Mofo mount. All of our steering. We've got their servo arm. It looks good. Everything looks good. It fits so good. Okay, so I did, like I thought, the mount, I did pull out, you know, it has the studs that hang down. So if you were to run this mount, you could run it down. You might have to trim off these studs a little bit. So just depending on what your body configuration is and everything, you may have to do a little modification. But it goes all the way up. Got just enough room, so we're good. So in my plan, I think at first I'm going to try to run the Velcro. And I think I'm going to just run a piece of small Velcro right here and see how it works. We'll see when we go to put the body on. Then we got our nice little mini radio link RF4 GM receiver. Nice 4-channel setup because we are running our RC8X on here. So my plan is, you know, I'll clean up the wiring a little bit. I'll probably, I don't know, for now I may just zip tie some of this stuff up because I don't know if all these, the servo's going to stay in here. Receiver should stay in here. I don't know if the motor ESC will. I've never used it before, so we'll see how it goes. I would normally probably shorten this battery wire up a little bit. This is fine, but you know, I would put probably some, well, and I'm going to. I'll probably make it look clean. I'll do some wire loom on it. This is just the Alex Tech stuff off of Amazon. It works really good, expandable, you know, braided. This is the 1/8 inch, so I've used it on a lot of stuff before, so I've had it for years. Use it on real automotive stuff, and then transfer it over to this stuff too. So yeah, everything fit and finish excellent. I did power it up, right, to make sure that I had this centered so that I could put the arm on. Everything powered up good. I did go in and change a few settings in the ESC. This is not a Bluetooth setup with the Hobby Wing, so you will need like one of their programmers. I have this because I use a lot of Hobby Wing stuff in our bashers and all that other stuff. So if you do any Hobby Wing stuff, these things are awesome to have around. And some of the newer Hobby Wing stuff, the bigger, like the Max 6, the Max 8s, and I think the soon to be the newer Max 5s will be full Bluetooth. But this one is not. But there's a little port right here. You just pull their little plug out, and then you can program it really easy. It's really simple. So they do have this little adapter cable too, to where if you want to be able to change your drag brake on the fly, you can plug this into this program port, and you plug it into one of your auxiliary ports and tie it to one of your channels on your radio, and you can dial in the drag brake on the fly, which is kind of cool. I thought that was a pretty cool design. So, and they also give you, if you want to run this with a brush setup, they give you the cable to go from like this connection to your motor, you know, the 2-wire. They give you the adapter, so that's nice too. Really nice. I think it, you know, seems really good. I did set endpoints on here. You know what? Well, let's power it up. Let's show you kind of how this thing goes. So we'll plug this guy in. Turn on our.
Welcome to Radio Link.
And you get the 2 beeps for 2S. So you can see this thing. You know what? We'll bring it over here. Let's bring it close. And kind of get that out of the way. I mean, you can see these aren't even moving yet. It does have a little notch, and then it goes away. So I don't know if that's a bearing or what that is inside, but it's super smooth. So like spin it all the way up, reverse, and that may be like where the FOC is starting to, because then it goes away. Super smooth, really happy with it. So really, really impressed with it. So let me show you one thing with endpoints. You got to set your endpoints in your steering, because if you over travel things, that's where you start messing up the inside of the servo and stuff. So just to give you kind of a, you know, this thing's super nice. It's strong. Now, if you look, you have it cranked all the way, and I run it. Everything's nice and smooth, right? Nice and smooth, nice and smooth. Let me go in here, I'll show you. Fat fingered it. So let's look at endpoints. Endpoint adjustment. So like, we'll do this guy. See how it's starting to bounce? because it's binding. So you want to get it to where it doesn't bind. So like here, I'll go really slow. You don't want to really do it hard. So nice and smooth. Same with this side, nice and smooth. If you go to, you know, and you see it kind of like, I mean, there's no wheels on this thing, right? No wheels and tires on this thing, and you saw it jerking around. So that shows you that your U-joint in there or your CVD is binding up, right? The CVDs usually don't bind as much, but they aren't as strong as a U-joint, right? So you got to make sure once you get everything lined up, you just go set your endpoints and go look at how that thing does when you've got it cranked, you know, full direction one way or the other. If you've got to bind somewhere, you got to back off that steering endpoint. So always go in, check your endpoints. You can do it with the stock receiver and stock transmitter. There's the SLT2. Very simple with all the Spectrum stuff to do. There's tons of tutorials online on how to do it. It's really simple. So super awesome. We got everything all set up and you know, calibrated and all that other stuff. So I will show you. I wanted to show you a few other things here. We'll turn this guy off. Plug in. So let's get this over here. Turn this guy off so it doesn't get mad at me. All right. So we showed you that quick run ESC, right? It's pretty nice. So I've got a few other things here that I figured I'd show you. So this was the ESC I was going to go with, right? This is the Python Pro. These things are super awesome. You can get up to 8.4 volts on the BEC, so you could really crank the power on this servo. This one only goes up to 7.4. The Lizard Pro only goes up to 7.4. That was one of the reasons I wanted to give this servo a little more power. But I'm going to use this in a different build anyway, so most likely. But size-wise, so they are about. This thing is a little bit wider. It is definitely longer, as you can see. So it takes up a lot more footprint, right? And it's got a little bit more weight, I would assume too. Lizard Pro, they are basically the same length. The Lizard Pro is maybe like a millimeter or something wider, not much. I would say they're pretty equivalent when it comes to size. So, if you're thinking this thing's super duper tiny, it's not. That new MicroPython that FearTech is coming out with, man, that thing is smaller than this. So it's smaller than this guy too. So we showed you the motors between like this quick run motor and like the micro motor. They're basically the same size. I would say they're the same size. I was thinking about going with this combo is super awesome. The Python Pro and the Cedar. The Cedar motor is great. It is an in-runner, so you don't have anything spinning, which is cool. But like if you look at length difference, it is definitely longer, right? It is a little bit larger in diameter too. So you got to remember, if you're going to do something like this, you got to remember the length, right? So it is, let's see if we can show you. Yeah, mount it up. It's significantly longer. So this whole black section is that much longer. So, and then the wires do stick out the back instead of up top. So you got to think about some of that stuff when you're packaging everything. I like running this motor, if you're going to do it, in a forward position because it is heavier, right? If you can get that weight up front, super awesome to do. This setup probably wasn't going to work unless I modified this tray somehow, which I may figure out how to do in the future. So we might figure something else out with that. So just wanted to kind of give you guys a little, visual of different options and sizes and stuff like that. So I really like the packaging on this whole system. It's really nice so far. Seems super smooth. It's got that little bit of noise. I don't know if it's a bearing noise or what it is, but I mean, it's not interrupting anything and it's smooth. So the micro Komodos kind of do that a little bit too in certain areas. So I'm not gonna not going to fault anything yet. So we'll go check it out. So next step, right? We got this thing pretty much set up, ready to go. Almost. I'm going to clean up some of this wiring. I'll probably cut this and shorten it. And then I don't think I'm going to cut this yet. I'm going to leave this long, but I'll probably put some nice wire loom on it. Same with this, I'll wire loom this up. So let's make it look pretty. Let's slap this body on that we got sitting over here, because it's primed, ready to go. And then we're going to show you wheels and tires too. So we'll get those set up as well. So I think one thing we're going to do on this, I'm not going to run a strap. I am going to run probably dual lock. I do run dual lock a lot on all of our battery setups. So I'm probably just going to run the dual lock and stick it on there, and then we'll be able to pop the batteries. Honestly, it's easier to pop the batteries in and out. Fiddling with, I had the strap in there. I didn't really like it because, like, in full compression, this drive shaft is so close to this tray, it actually rubs on the strap underneath. Not a big fan of that. So, but really happy with how this thing came out. So super clean, super nice. Let's clean it up, get the body on, wheels and tires, and let's go. Man, I hope you enjoyed that. Part 2 was good. We got to see some cool power getting ready to go in this thing, this awesome build. I love the gold. I love all of it. Man, it is so cool. But you got to stay tuned for part 3. It's coming right now. So go check out part 3 where we get this thing rolling, and you can see some of the challenges that we start to really face with this build. So, and these are challenges that you can see in any build. So follow along. We appreciate the support. Comment, like, subscribe. Remember, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We appreciate everything you guys are doing. Let's keep this rolling. Part 3 coming up.